right? Hobart sitting at 21 degrees right now, while Darwin S only nudging 19. Yeah, you heard that right. Is your part of Australia about to see the kind of weather flip that catches everyone off guard? Currently, the Bureau of Meteorology has severe weather warnings active across 3 states, affecting over 8 million Australians. And what S developing over the next 72 hours could reshape the entire weather pattern from coast to coast. I'm going to give you exact timing for Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Hobart, Darwin and Canberra in the next 30 seconds. But first, chuck your location in the comments right now and I'll get you a personalised forecast update for your area tomorrow morning when we've got clearer model data. Sydney, rain arrives tomorrow afternoon around 4, heaviest overnight into Friday, clearing by Saturday morning. Melbourne, dry until Friday evening, then a cold front smashes through with temps dropping 8 degrees in 2 hours. Brisbane and the Gold Coast, scattered storms Thursday afternoon, clearing Friday, then beautiful weekend ahead. Perth, you are looking at 38 degrees today, 40 tomorrow, then a southerly change drops you to 28 by Friday. Arvo, Adelaide, 34 today, similar tomorrow, rain arrives Saturday morning. Hobart, this warm spell continues through Friday, then back to reality over the weekend. Darwin, typical monsoonal activity, afternoon storms most days. Canberra, warm and dry through Thursday, storms possible Friday afternoon. Now here is the thing. The models are showing 2 completely different scenarios for Southeast Australia, and this difference matters significantly because one track brings widespread rain, the other keeps most areas bone dry. I'll break down exactly what Access versus the European model is telling us in about 4 minutes, but the short version is this. There is still genuine uncertainty around where this low pressure system is going to position itself. Let me take you through what is actually happening right now across the continent, because the current setup is pretty unusual for late January. We've got a monsoon trough that has been parked across northern Australia for the past week, and it's finally starting to show signs of movement. This trough has been delivering some solid rainfall to parts of the Northern Territory and northwestern Queensland. But the interesting bit is what happens when it starts to interact with a cold front that is currently sitting south of Western Australia. For you lot in regional New South Wales, places like Newcastle, Wollongong, Coffs Harbour, this system arrives Thursday night into Friday. Newcastle looking at 20 to 40 millimetres, Wollongong similar numbers. Coffs Harbour, you might see 50 to 80 mils if the storms line up properly. The Central Coast and the Hunter Valley, you're in that same time frame. Wagga Wagga and Dubbo on the inland side, you'll see the rain Friday afternoon, lighter falls, maybe 10 to 20 mils at best. Victoria, let's talk about Geelong, Ballarat, Bendigo, Shepparton. The timing here is later than New South Wales. Geelong stays dry until Saturday morning. Then you are looking at a solid band of rain moving through. Ballarat, similar story, Saturday morning into the afternoon. Bendigo and Shepparton, you are even later, Saturday afternoon into evening. The thing with this Victorian rain is it is not just about the rainfall amounts, which will be moderate, 15 to 30 millimetres across most of these areas. It is about the temperature drop that comes with it. We're talking maximums in the low 20s Friday, dropping to the mid-teens by Sunday. Queensland, the Sunshine Coast and Townsville need to pay attention to different systems entirely. Townsville, you're re-dealing with that monsoonal activity I mentioned earlier, which means scattered storms tomorrow afternoon, heavy falls possible in isolated spots. Could see 80 to 150 mils in some locations. Cairns, same deal, typical wet season pattern. The Whitsundays sitting in between, you'll get some showers, but nothing too dramatic. Down south, Toowoomba looking at storms Thursday, clearing Friday. Western Australia, this is where it gets interesting, and I reckon this is going to be the story over the next week. Bunbury, you're about to cop a decent southerly change, currently sitting at 34, dropping to 22 by Friday. Geraldton, similar pattern but less dramatic. Kalgoorlie inland, you're staying hot through the weekend, 40 plus most days. Broome up north, you've got a tropical low that's been meandering around, and while it's not going to develop into anything significant, it is going to deliver some solid rainfall to the Kimberley region through the weekend. South Australia, Mount Gambier and the southeast, you're in that same system as Victoria. Saturday rain, cooling temperatures. Whyalla and Port Augusta, you'll see rain Saturday afternoon into Sunday. Lighter falls the further north you go. Tasmania, Launceston and Devonport, this warm spell has been pretty remarkable for January, but it's about to end. Saturday sees the change arrive. Temperatures back to seasonal averages, which is mid-20s for this time of year. Northern Territory, Alice Springs staying hot and dry, typical centre conditions. Catherine's seeing scattered afternoon storms, nothing unusual for the wet season. Here, S, where I need to clarify something because the model runs from this morning versus last night are showing some differences that matter. Access, that is the Australian model, is showing this low pressure system developing off the New South Wales coast Friday morning, then tracking southeast away from the coast. That would mean lighter rainfall totals for Sydney and the Central Coast, maybe 20 to 30 millimetres. But the European model, the ECMWF, reckons this low forms further north and tracks closer to the coast, which would mean heavier falls, potentially 50 to 80 millimetres for the same areas. This 100-kilometre difference in track placement changes everything for the Central Coast and the Hunter. Hang on, let me check that again because tomorrow morning S model runs should sort this out. What I'm saying is, if you're in Gosford, Wyong, Newcastle, that Hunter region, we'll have a better idea tomorrow about whether you are looking at a decent soaking or just moderate falls. Check back tomorrow because that S, when we all know which model is getting it right, at the 3-minute mark, if you haven't already, drop your city or region in the comments. I am going through them tonight and tomorrow morning to give specific updates for your area, especially if you in one of these borderline zones where the forecast could go either way. The thing about this pattern is it's not just about the next 72 hours. We're seeing signs in the long-range models that this could be the start of a more active period for eastern Australia. Currently, sea surface temperatures off the Queensland and New South Wales coast are sitting at 27 to 29 degrees, which is pretty warm for late January. The Coral Sea is particularly warm right now, 29 pushing 30 degrees in some spots. This matters because as we head into February, if we get the right atmospheric setup, we could be talking about some more significant weather systems developing. Now, one thing that S got me concerned, and I'll be honest about this, is the fire danger situation in parts of inland New South Wales and Victoria. Before this rain arrives, we've got Thursday looking pretty sketchy. Hot, dry, windy conditions. Total fire ban days are likely for several regions. If you're in the Riverina, the western slopes of New South Wales or northern Victoria, be aware that Thursday is a day to take seriously. Have your bushfire plan ready, know your trigger points. The rain that arrives Friday will help significantly, but Thursday itself is a concern. Let me give you some more specific locations now because I want to make sure everyone is covered. The ACT, Canberra specifically, you are looking at 32 degrees tomorrow. Then storms possible Friday afternoon could drop you to the mid-20s. Not a significant cool change, but noticeable. Back to Queensland, the Gold Coast and Brisbane, the storms Thursday afternoon. I should be more specific about timing. Brisbane expects storms to develop inland around 2 p.m, moving towards the coast by 4 or 5, then dying out by late evening. Gold Coast, similar timing, but possibly slightly earlier. These one to be severe. Just typical summer afternoon activity, but they all pack a punch with heavy rain rates while they last. Island territories, if you're on Norfolk Island, you are in for a rough few days actually. That low pressure system I mentioned earlier, depending on its track, Norfolk could see some significant wind and rain Saturday into Sunday. Christmas Island and Cocos Islands, URE fine, typical tropical conditions. The one thing to remember from this forecast is that Friday morning S model runs are going to be critical for nailing down exactly where the heaviest rain falls across New South Wales and Victoria. What we're seeing right now is the models converging on a general pattern, but there is still that 100 to 150 kilometre uncertainty in the exact position of the low, and that matters enormously for rainfall totals. Around the 12-minute mark now, and I want to touch on what S happening in Western Australia in more detail because their S a longer range signal developing that S worth mentioning. That tropical low I mentioned near the Kimberley, it S expected to track west towards the Indian Ocean over the next 5 to 7 days. Now, once it gets offshore, if it can stay far enough from the coast and interact with those sea surface temperatures, which are sitting at 29 to 31 degrees, we could be talking about tropical cyclone development. This is not a certainty and the models are still showing a fair bit of spread, but residents from Port Hedland to Broome should keep an eye on this situation as we head into next week. The Pilbara coast in particular could see impacts if this system intensifies as some models suggest. Actually, I should clarify that even further. When I say could see impacts, I am talking about the potential for gale force winds and heavy rainfall. But the timing on this is still uncertain, anywhere from Tuesday next week to the following weekend, which is a massive window. The key thing is that the ocean temperatures out there are supportive of intensification and the upper level winds are looking favourable. That S basically like having high octane fuel and a well-tuned engine if that system can get itself organised. GFS, that S, the American model, is more aggressive with this development than Access is right now. GFS shows a Category 3 or 4 system developing, while Access is more conservative, showing maybe a Category 1 or 2. This difference is significant because we're talking about the difference between a nasty storm and a potentially dangerous cyclone for the Pilbara coast. Back to the southeast, and this is important for anyone along the coast from Sydney down to the Victorian border. Beach conditions Thursday and Friday are going to be ordinary, big swells developing, strong winds, dangerous rips. This is not a weekend to be complacent at the beach. The surf will look appealing because it'll be solid, but the conditions underneath will be treacherous. We're talking 3 to 4 metre swells in exposed locations, possibly bigger. If you are planning beach trips, seriously consider postponing until Sunday when conditions settle. In terms of compounding concerns, we've got the fire danger Thursday, then the coastal conditions Friday and Saturday, and then for parts of Tasmania and southern Victoria, there is the potential for some pretty cold weather Sunday and Monday. Now, cold for late January isn't that cold in absolute terms. We're talking maximums around 13 to 17 degrees, but it's the contrast that gets people. Going from the mid-30s to the mid-teens in 3 days is noticeable. Let me give you a few more regional centres quickly. Orange in New South Wales, you re-elevated, so you will feel that cold change more than most, dropping to single digits for your overnight minimum Sunday. Bathurst, similar story. Armidale on the northern tablelands, you might even see your first proper cold night of the year, Sunday night into Monday. Possible frost in some elevated areas, which is pretty unusual for late January, but not unheard of. Down in Tasmania, the northwest coast, Burnie, Devonport, Ulverstone, that area. Saturday brings the change, and it is a sharp one. From 25 or 26 degrees Friday down to 18 or 19 Saturday. The west coast of Tasmania, Strahan, Queenstown, you'll see rain Saturday, but not huge amounts, maybe 20 to 40 mils. There's one location that could cop something unexpected, and that the southern ranges of New South Wales, places like Jindabyne, Thredbo, the Snowy Mountains. Now, I know it is summer, but if this system tracks exactly right and pulls down enough cold air, there's an outside chance of snow on the peaks Sunday morning. I am talking above 2,000 metres, and I'm talking a very outside chance, maybe 10% probability, but it is not zero. The models would need to track this system further south and deepen it more than they are currently showing, but at technically possible. More likely is just very cold rain and strong winds. For anyone who's been asking about the longer term, and I know some of you are planning holidays and outdoor events, mid-February is still looking unsettled. That monsoon trough I mentioned, it's expected to strengthen again around the 10th to 15th of February, and when that happens, we typically see increased tropical activity. The Coral Sea specifically is primed right now. Sea temperatures are warm, wind shear is forecast to drop, and we're re-entering the peak of the cyclone season. ID put the chance of at least one tropical low developing in the Coral Sea through February at around 50 to 60%, which when we're re-talking long-range meteorology is actually quite significant. Whether that translates to a Queensland coastal threat is another question entirely. Most February systems develop well offshore and track southeast away from the coast, but not all of them. It's definitely a watch this space situation, and I'll be tracking it closely over the coming weeks. Before I wrap up, let me rehash the key points. Thursday is hot and fire-prone for inland areas. Friday brings rain to New South Wales and eventually Victoria. Amounts still uncertain pending tomorrow's model runs. Saturday sees the system clear out, but brings that temperature drop. Western Australia has a potential tropical cyclone brewing for next week. Still too early to panic, but worth monitoring. And longer term, February looks active for tropical weather. The forecast models are converging on the general pattern, but there is still enough uncertainty in the details that I am not giving you absolutes beyond about 36 hours. This is one of those situations where tomorrow's update is going to matter because we'll have much clearer data. Access versus ECMWF, that battle is going to resolve itself in the next model run or two. And that when we'll know definitively who gets heavy rain and who gets moderate rain. If you're in the comments and you have told me your location, I'll get back to you tomorrow morning with specifics once I see these new model runs. Places like the Central Coast, the Hunter, the Illawarra, you are in that zone where the forecast could shift significantly based on that low pressure track. For tomorrow, I'll have an update first thing in the morning with the overnight model data, and we'll nail down exactly where this system is heading. I'll also have more on that Western Australia tropical situation because that developing into something potentially significant. Make sure you're rechecking the Bureau of Meteorology website for official warnings, particularly if you are in fire-prone areas Thursday or if you are on the coast Friday and Saturday. This forecast gives you the overview, but local warnings are where you will get the specific immediate information for your exact area. Reckon that covers everything for today. Weather is never straightforward in Australia, too big a country with too many different systems interacting. But that S, also what makes it interesting, tomorrow S update will clarify a lot of what S uncertain today. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the morning for the next update.